Welcome to This Explainer. Listen, if you live in a place where the temperature can literally drop 30 degrees in a single afternoon, you absolutely need to master what we're covering today. We're walking through the Winter Defense Protocol. It's basically your ultimate plumbing survival guide, and it's all based on expert guidelines from smart housing systems. Let's get right into it.
So think about it for a second. Will your plumbing actually survive the next sudden cold snap? Illinois winters are totally notorious for those plunging temperatures that just seem to happen overnight, catching us completely off guard. And those sudden tops, well, they pose a severe and frankly incredibly expensive threat to any unprotected pipes in your home. Because here's the deal. When water freezes, it expands. And when it expands inside a rigid pipe, the pipe bursts. It really is that simple. And let me tell you, the resulting water damage is just devastating.
Okay, let's dive into this, because the source material issues a pretty stark warning right off the bat. Illinois winters can bring sudden cold snaps that test even well-built homes. That's the key takeaway right there. You might be sitting there thinking your modern, newly built, perfectly sealed house is completely immune to this kind of elemental damage. But actually, scratch that, because when that wind chill hits 0 and below, physics just takes over. Even the absolute best construction has vulnerabilities, and it's our job to find them. To beat the freeze, here is our systematic, 4-phase lines of defense strategy. 1. Assessment, finding vulnerable pipes. 2. Insulation, sealing the castle. 3. Flow management, inside and out. And 4. Verification, testing the defenses. This protocol is going to empower you to fortify your home phase by phase. All right, let's jump into phase 1, assessment. Finding vulnerable pipes. Look, before you spend a single dime on materials or start turning any random valves, you absolutely must identify your danger zones. We're talking about water lines that run along exterior walls, or those that pass through unheated basements, crawl spaces, garages, and attics. Oh, and don't forget about any sections of pipes sitting right near exterior vents either. Fun fact, in 0-degree wind chill, an exposed half-inch pipe can literally freeze solid in just a few hours. No way, right? But it's true. These zones are the absolute most vulnerable spots in your entire house. When you get those overnight dips and that harsh, wind-driven cold, this is exactly where the freezing air will attack first. These are the front lines of your winter defense. Moving right along to phase 2, insulation, sealing the castle. Think of this as fortifying your castle walls against a massive winter siege.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the strict order of operations here. It is absolutely mandatory that you follow these steps in this exact sequence. Step 1, fix leaks. Listen to me. You must never, ever insulate over a wet or actively leaking area. If you trap moisture under that insulation, you're just asking for corrosion and hidden damage. You have to fix the leak first. Then move to step 2. Insulate the pipes using cold weather rated materials. Pay special attention to the elbows, the valves, and those pipe-to-wall transitions. Our source text highlights that these connection points actually cool much faster than the straight runs of pipe. Finally, step 3 is sealing drafts and penetrations with caulk or sealant.
That third step we just mentioned is absolutely critical, and here's why. Even small, unheated gaps can drop pipe temperatures perilously close to freezing during prolonged cold weather. Imagine this. You just spent all afternoon carefully wrapping your basement pipes in fresh, high-quality foam insulation. You did a great job. The whole shebang looks perfect. But you left a tiny, unsealed gap in the wall where the pipe goes outside to the hose bib. Well, a cold, wind-driven draft will sneak right through that little unsealed penetration and completely undermine all your hard work, freezing the pipe from that single point of exposure. It's like a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, right? You just have to seal those drafts. All right, phase 3, flow management. Inside and out. If insulation is our passive armor, flow management is our active defense mechanism, controlling the actual water inside those vulnerable pipes. For the outside, you need to disconnect all garden hoses, drain the lines completely, store those hoses indoors, and use insulated, freeze-proof spigot covers designed for winter use. If you have a vacuum breaker, be sure to follow the manufacturer's instructions for winter mode. Honestly, unless you're trying to build a private ice skating rink in your basement, completely removing the water from these exterior lines is your absolute safest bet. It's simple logic, right? If there is no water left in the pipe, there is literally nothing there to freeze and expand. But what about the indoor pipes? Well, the strategy here shifts depending on whether the house is occupied. Let's compare the two scenarios. If you are staying at home during an extreme cold snap and have exposed lines you just couldn't fully insulate, the smartest move is to leave a small trickle of water running on those specific exposed faucets. Moving water resists freezing, so you're basically using flow to keep the pipe clear. However, if you are vacating the house for the winter, that trickle strategy is way too risky. If you're leaving, you want to shut off the main water supply entirely and drain the whole plumbing system. For some setups, this might even involve adding specialized plumbing antifreeze to potable lines, but, always consult your system's documentation or a professional first.
And this brilliantly illustrates another key point. Don't forget the source of it all, your water heater. It's not just about the pipes, it's about the entire connected system. You really have to protect your water heater by checking that surrounding vents and access panels are sealed tightly against cold drafts. If your unit is sitting out in an unheated space, like a drafty garage, consider using specialized insulation blankets. Ensuring your water heater has a stable, insulated setup is absolutely vital. Why? Because if the ambient temperature drops too far, it reduces the chance that the unit itself, or those delicate pipes directly connected to it, will be exposed to extreme cold and fail on you.
Okay, we've reached phase 4, verification, testing the defenses. This is all about ensuring your preparations actually hold up before a severe freeze arrives. You've built your defenses, now you ensure they hold up in the real world. And it really all comes down to doing just one simple verification test. You want to do this during a mild cold snap long before the brutal 0-degree weather actually hits. Go around your house and confidently check your work. Confirm that the outdoor lines are fully drained and the hoses are detached, then run your indoor faucets to make sure flow is normal. And, crucially, double-check that no new leaks have magically appeared around the valves or connections you just insulated.
So the crucial point is exactly what the source guidelines warn us about. Small issues can become pipe burst events. You simply cannot afford to ignore the early warning signs during your verification test. If you turn on a tap and notice an unusually slow flow, or, if you see frost physically forming on the outside of your pipes, or find unexplained dampness that definitely wasn't there yesterday, you have to address it immediately. Letting it go unchecked is exactly how a tiny manageable issue suddenly transforms into a catastrophic flooded basement event. Of course, part of a really great defense strategy is knowing your limits and knowing exactly when to call in reinforcements. You should absolutely contact a licensed professional plumber if you have extensive exposed plumbing in unheated areas that you just can't manage alone. Call them if you are uncertain about the specific winterization steps for your home's unique setup. If you have recurring leaks you can't solve, or, and this is the big one, if you suspect your pipes have already frozen. In a state like Illinois, where the temperature swings are just abrupt and brutal, getting professional help in a timely manner is a real game changer. It can prevent thousands upon thousands of dollars in water damage. We've covered the danger zones, the insulation tactics, the flow management strategies, and the absolute vital importance of testing it all. Because let me tell you, when that winter wind starts howling and the mercury plummets, physics simply doesn't care how well built your house is. It only cares about preparation. So I'll leave you with this. If the temperature dropped 30 degrees tonight, would you sleep soundly, or would you lie awake listening for a pipe to pop? Are your home's defenses truly ready for the deep freeze? Don't wait to find out the hard way. Start your protocol today.